order. And I have a motion moved by our Hergert, seconded by our Rob Thompson. Be it resolved that the Council of the Municipality of West Grey hereby returns to open session of Council at 10:05 a.m. Any questions or comments on that motion? Called the question. All those in favor? Any opposed? That's carried. Okay. There we go. And as everybody will see out there, there is a few individuals in different chairs today. Our clerk, Mr. Turner, is on holidays. So Kathy Sweeney, the admin assistant, is going to be up front here with us taking minutes and trying to keep me organized. And to help Laura keep me organized. Yeah. Anyways, for everybody out there, Mr. Bell is on holidays, and Mr. Hutchison, Councillor Hutchison, is away today on a personal matter as well, too. So we will continue on in their absence. I just want Kathy to note that in closed session, only those matters that we went into closed session are the only matters discussed. And there's, I don't believe that we have anything arising from closed session at this time. Public meetings, we have none. Consent agenda. Do I have that? I have a motion to accept things on the consent. I have a motion moved by Bev Cunning, seconded by Carol Lawrence. Be it resolved that items A1 to C1 inclusive contained in Part 1 consent agenda be adopted as printed, and further that authorization be given for actions to be taken as may be necessary to give effect to the recommendations contained therein. Is there any comments on the consent motion? Rebecca.
I have one comment on the January 15th committee of the whole minutes. It stated that the library board that I was going to be attending a conference in Toronto, January 31st to February 3rd. I just went the one day, it was February 3rd, so that's a correction.
Make note of that. Okay. Anything else? Call the question. All those in favor? Any opposed? I can put that in. Yeah. Change that date very easily. All those in favor? Any opposed? That's carried. Okay. And then I think that brings us down to communications from our last meeting. Does any councillors have any communications that they'd like to share? No, those ones will be up. Any communications from Mayor? Rebecca, sure. Please. So, Councillor Hergert.
This last week, the BIA got together and they're having their final discussions for the Frazzle Fest, which is the 16th, 17th, 18th, 19th, including Family Day. And we are having a trivia night on the 16th, and that money raised will go to help with the bridge and approach work and lighting and so on. The other thing is February 10th, there's a pancake breakfast supporting the 8th grade class trip at Spruce Ridge. So maybe everybody can make it out to the Legion for a pancake breakfast. I did go to the Ontario Library Association meeting. It was a board meeting just for board members on the Saturday, and I'll bring that up in new business later on. But But that was a good meeting as well.
Very good, thank you. Anyone else? Two things I attended, both at the Durham Legion this weekend. Very interesting that the Lions Club, I don't know whether I should be advertising for their effects, but they have a very neat fundraiser going on right now, Catch the Ace. So they're working with the Legion on that. And the pot is growing. It's a progressive pot, so it is growing very much. And tickets can be bought, purchased at various businesses around the area. The other one was on Saturday. A former Durham Deputy Reeve celebrated his 80th birthday. So we were there to celebrate Glenn. And most people will know him by Punch. Nobody really knew what his first name was. Punch Marshall's 80th birthday. So his whole family and everybody was out in their Montreal Canadian. I know it hurt, and I'll say that I hope that most of his children got over the fright of having to wear the Canadian sweater, because I think only one of the whole family follows their grandfather in cheering for the Canadians. The rest of them are heavy Boston Bruin fans, so it was they made the sacrifice and wore those for Punch's 80th birthday. Anything else? Oh, yes, and that would be communications from the Roma conference that we just had. Thank you for reminding me of that, Carol. The municipality, West Grey, we had a very good meeting, I think, Brent, with the Ministry of Transportation on Highway 6 and some of the upgrades that we're looking to do on the connecting link. And that went very well with the new minister, Minister McGarry. There was one other one that would be of importance or understanding. I didn't attend, but the county and a couple of other municipalities met with Minister Hoskins to talk about long-term care and theories and ideas on that. And I think from my discussions with some of the attendees on that meeting, the minister is very keen on moving forward with the redevelopment of Rockwood. And as we know, there are some complications with that from some of our friends to the east on how we're going to get that. But the minister was very encouraging to say that Rockwood was still on the radar to be going ahead, to be redeveloped the way it was, and look forward to working with the county on coming to a solution that would be county-made and for everyone. So stay tuned. The ministry still has to make the decision to sign off, but is playing the mediator on working towards a recognizable solution for long-term care in Grey County at this point in time. Carol?
Mr. Mayor, you stated you didn't attend. I think it was you weren't included. It's not that you didn't attend. You weren't invited.
Yeah, it could also say it that way as well, too. Yes.
A little bit of clarification.
Very good. Okay, and as I said, at the conference, Councillor Lawrence attended, Councillor Hergert was there, Councillor Cutting flew in and flew out.
Very smart.
And our CEO was there, and Brent was down for a period of time as well, too. Very good conference, tremendous rural theme to it with everything. Of course, the biggest, I think, probably the most active portion of it was the amendments to the Municipal Act and the implications that those are going to have on councils going forward, on how we operate through the Integrity Commissioner, through more transparency. I'm not sure that it's more transparent. It just seems to be more regulations and paper to push that we're going to have to be accountable for. But we will adapt to what Big Brother at Queen's Park legislates us, and that's how we operate, is through the grace of the province. So we will continue to do that. Anything else? Okay, very good. That's it for communications. We're just about on time. We might even be a minute late, Lisa. So we have a delegation this morning. Ms. Vanderhoot is here to talk to us about a building in town that she has some ideas on. So, Elise, the floor is yours. And hopefully that mic is turned on.
There it is.
There it is. You're live now.
Thanks,
So
Kevin.
good morning.
Good morning. I just wanted to get some clarity from council in terms of the Carnegie Library that's currently vacant in town. There's, I understand a motion was made here at the council a few weeks back regarding seeking heritage designation for that building. I'm just trying to discover from your point of view, does that then stalemate the possibility of a high school using that space in that interim?
I would say no. The heritage designation, or what we're looking at there, what council is looking at, is more on the architect design from the outside portion of the building, that from its heritage nature. So what operates on the inside of it, could be anything and everything. It's just that whoever it is, or if we do sell it, or if, but the heritage architect must be preserved if we find out how long it's going to take, or what it's going to take to designate that.
Okay.
That's the only portion.
I think that is wonderful that the council has taken this initiative, because I personally value that architectural significance of that building and what it represents in Ontario. But I have to say that I start to feel that there may be a back door in council, and I don't know how to get into the back door, because I'd like to know if council supports this initiative to use a space for high school and other youth-initiated activities in that building or not, before I go through the efforts and share my business plan with council and essentially the public in a sense. Because the communication that I received from staff was that until that heritage designation is finalized, that there wouldn't be really an ability to use that space. So it's sort of conflicting in a sense. And then I wondered if there was another agenda, and I just wanted to get clarity so that I can move on. Or and I really believe that this use of this space is such an opportunity for Grey County, actually, and specifically West Grey, because the space is not being used. We know when buildings aren't being used that they fall apart. There's a life that needs to happen inside. There's a living thing that's missing from that building right now. It's sitting empty. There's an expense to council to keep the building running, which I would take on at least this $5,000 a year to keep the heat and hydro going. I mean, it could be less because it's not being used, but let's say. And I just wanted to, before I move on to another space, I want to really get clarity from this council if indeed there is a motion or some kind of endorsement that says yes to this project.
I guess, and I'll speak for council on this, that we haven't made a determination as to, who or what will be in there. I think council is very interested in the project that you're proposing, but it would behoove us to go as well to the public to find if there are other projects. I can't commit at this point in time an absolute, or commit council hasn't committed that, you know, this is the project or programming that is going to be in that building. We're not at that point at this juncture.
How do we get to that point?
As we're going forward, I think that sometime in the near future, having a public meeting, some of the public, to entertain, and not saying that your project isn't the best, but maybe there are other things that fit, you know, would be a better fit, that individuals, and I think because it's public space, we've got to open it up to have that, as I said before, open and transparency, that it's not just we've funneled it in and everybody else is excluded from an idea.
I think that's totally fair and reasonable. So maybe that would be the next step, which of course, and I could present my
Vision.
proposal to at that same kind of venue.
Absolutely. I would.
But as I'm aware right now, there are no other people who have come forward and asked about using the space, and it's been empty for over a year.
Yeah, a little bit more. Yeah, just about a year.
So, I mean, let's move on.
Well, I'll say
I know
that-
you cannot sell it until you're sure you have heritage or not heritage designation. Like, this is all kind of up in the air, and I'm not asking to buy it. I'm not asking for a permanent lease agreement. I'm asking for use of a space and bringing some value to the community through jobs, cultural experiences, education, where it's not being served by the Queen's Park. They're not serving that, and the people in our community have to step up. And I think it becomes really hard because I have a lot of energy for it, and if I put a lot of energy into something, then I want to know that it's not in vain. So that's why I felt like I have to hold back, and I need to start looking at other options, but I don't know, because I really think this library is a really perfect solution for West Grey and for the initiative that I'm thinking of. It's not that the initiative won't happen without it.
Okay.
So I'd like to
Yep.
hear what you...
Councillor Lawrence.
Well, I just wanted to say, I thought we said we were going to seek the information and maybe apply for a heritage status, but at the same time, we were going to go forward and look for solutions for it, whether it's, I'm not sure we need a public meeting, Mr. Mayor, but I think we do have to go out to the public to ask for proposals, because we do have to, we do have to open it up, and there may not be any others, Elisa, but we can't just like we can't sell a property to just one person, you got to have it open. But I do think we were to do that at the same time. So it shouldn't, we shouldn't be too long getting out to ask for proposals, at least, because if it ends that it is, Elisa, then you've got to know. I imagine the fall you're looking at, are you?
It could be fall this year, it could be fall next year, it could be January. I'm totally open, because unfortunately, when I came, well, maybe fortunately, when I came last time, then it was reported in the newspaper. I've been getting a lot of phone calls. People are very interested in an alternative schooling. For me, a budget is very simple to put forward. There's like 4 revenue streams and operating and salaries. Like, it's pretty basic kind of business model. It's not rocket science. So I can, bring that together in a heartbeat, but I don't want to be like, throwing everything, doing all this extra work for, a stalemate. So I just want to know that there's some sort of clarity. And with regards to the proposals, I think it's also important, you can't have, that you can't do something that's for public because of the accessibility issues, so your proposals are extremely limited in that regard.
Yes, you're correct with that, but one thing I would add, you may not be aware of some of the public out there that have come forward. There has been a couple of proposals that have been kind of sitting there until council figures out what they're going to do. So yours isn't the only one, but there are other individuals. So now you are aware that there are other individuals with different ideas for the building. I'm going to ask Laura to, she's got something to say.
Yes, through you, Mayor. I just want to give a little bit of clarity on the process. So the clerk and I are working on putting together a staff report to bring back to council for them to understand what the implications of a heritage designation would mean. That would include the costs and the process, which involves a public meeting and advertising, that sort of thing. If council gives us direction to proceed and the budget to proceed, that's one step. We still would go out, as you had indicated, Councillor Lawrence, we would still go out with an expression of interest to gather up all of the interested parties in the community and beyond for their proposals to be submitted to council for consideration. So they could work simultaneously, but the first step is for us to bring this report about heritage designation and what that would entail. And if council would like to go ahead, then that would be reflecting in the expression of interest so that every party understands that it's going to be a designated building, which may exclude some people or it may attract others.
Okay.
So indeed, the decision to proceed with doing a heritage designation needs to happen before a decision of what party, like the proposals are entertained, or what proposal the council would go with. That's what I'm understanding now.
That would be our recommendation to council, because then the expression of interest would be clear, saying that it is a building that's going under a heritage designation or it isn't.
And that may, as the CEO said, influence who and what can be with that building.
Okay. So what is the timeline that council is foreseeing all this to take place?
Report should be back next council meeting.
Well, as the mayor had noted, the clerk's on vacation, so, but when he gets back, we expect to bring the report toward the end of the month and for council's consideration.
Okay. So it's clear then from the point of view of council that using that space this fall is out of the question? I mean, even if I were to use the space in an interim solution and as, not on a permanent basis, that they still could have other people and, make proposals and kick me out, like that's not an option, right?
It's, I wouldn't say that, by this fall. I think that, it is possible. It's not an absolute, but it's probably possible that we could have programming in there by this fall. And as Laura said, they can work simultaneously on getting the heritage designation, going forward with that, and having something or someone operate programming or operate out of the building itself. Part of the difficulty, as you've said, a year ago, it's been sitting for a year. We had an agreement, or have been working with an agreement on an adjoining property owner, because there quite literally was no vehicle access to the back of the property. So there's been a negotiation with property owner to fix that or remedy that and find a solution for that, being able to have access to that. And with the party, we've been able to do that. So that is just finishing up now, and that's been really why it sat there for a year. It was working as a walk-in. Yes, you could walk up the front, but to get around to the back, that was an issue. So I think we have resolved to that issue, and now we can start really moving forward with whether it be your program, schooling in there, or other options that may come forward. And as I said, I do believe that it is possible to have that for your program starting in the fall. It might be tight timeline, but it is, I think, a possibility. Councillor Hergen.
Yes, so just to sum up here what we've talked about, in a month, we will have a report back to council regarding the plan of heritage designation. How long does that planning to get the actual accreditation or the heritage, how long does that take?
Through you, Mayor, to Councillor Herget, I'm not exactly sure on exact timing. It does involve retaining a heritage consultant to produce a document that, sort of itemizes all of the architectural features. So it's not, it takes a number of months, which is why I was suggesting that we could still entertain community interest in the property. But I think for transparency, if we do have the desire to designate that building, then any proponents should be aware of that.
Go ahead, Rebecca.
So why wouldn't we put out an expression of interest just noting that we are entertaining and we're trying to figure out the heritage designation or not? I mean, why wouldn't we ask for all those expressions of interest to come forward with the idea of a heritage designation possibility?
Through you, Mayor, one of my recommendations, though, is that if we decide not to go with the heritage designation, that may open up other interested parties. And conversely, if we commit to designating it, that may make other people decide that it's not the property for them. So I think we need to have direction one way or the other on the heritage component first, and that way people will understand. I know Ms. Vanderhoot, she supports heritage, so we would probably see an expression of interest coming from her, but I don't know what else is out there.
So what would our timeline be on getting the expression of interest out there? We don't know about that either. I mean, another month for a report to come back, and then the heritage designation, I mean, that could be 3 more months, 4 more months?
Through you, Mayor, when the staff report comes and the decision is made either way to proceed with heritage, an expression of interest could go out at the same time.
Same time.
There doesn't need to be a delay in that process.
So possibly just another month?
I would suggest that once council ratifies the recommendation, whichever way we're going, that would be the trigger for us to issue the expression of interest.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
Okay.
So we're about a month,
Yep.
to
That's
be able
great.
to get in on that.
Thank you for the clarification. I'm going to stay on your backs and make sure you keep going, because I hate to see that building falling apart when it's not looked after.
It's been very well looked after, but as you said, any building that is vacant,
It's a different energy.
it has a different energy to it, exactly. So that's why we hope by this fall, we'll have a use and have that being a use to the community.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. Very good. All right. That brings us down then, any business arising from the previous meeting? Seeing none, then we're down to staff reports, and the first one is our Treasurer's Report, Director of Finance, and Mr. Glacier, you're here to present Carrie's report? Well, I see you're sitting right in front of Carrie's name, so, yeah, Brent's on the other side. So I thought you were doing both of those. Well, let me find that page. What are we on? Page 60? No. Let me get it up here. There we are, 70. Oh, that's the clerk's report. There we are, 74. And the first one is the voucher. Do we have that resolution for the vouchers? Is there any comments on the vouchers? Rebecca, go ahead.
I'm
We'll
actually
see.
really glad Brent's here, because I do have a couple questions on the vouchers. So
Probably
this-
on his report, yes? Go ahead.
Well, they come up in the financials.
Yeah.
So, just looking at the, okay, let's go to the, page 79 has the Ayton Dam repairs. 3 stop logs were put in. Are we continuing with flashboards up on top?
I've been asked by the owner. I received a phone call about a month and a half ago.
We are the owner of the bridge.
We are the owner.
Or
Sorry.
we are the owner of the dam.
Sorry, let me rephrase that.
Yes.
I received a call from Mrs. Schuett regarding that very question. And I had no knowledge at that point in time that there were flashboards on that structure. From my recollection and talking to staff, the flashboards were installed by Schuett's, or not by the municipality, but I think there's a problem with at the time, the Ministry of Natural Resources had laid claim that they owned the dam, and they gave permission to, correct me if I'm wrong, Your Worship, laid claim that they owned the dam, and therefore they put the flashboards on. It's not the case. I think His Worship has found out that the ministry mistakenly told the Schuetts that they owned the dam, and the flashboards were put on. I gave no indication to Schuetts that we were going to erect the flashboards, because we didn't install them. We don't maintain them. We maintain the sluice, and that's all I repaired. So unless council is thinking otherwise, I was not going to proceed with installation of the flashboards, because we never installed them.
So are the flashboards, isn't that part of what helps keep the water in?
It's a
The mill
piece of
pond?
structure that's above the concrete dam right now. So it still allow the water to rise approximately maybe a foot, maybe 2 feet more. But during the large floods that we received, maybe particularly in June, I'm not sure, last June when we received that 5 to 6 inches of water that inundated, and that's what removed the large beams in the weir, dislodged them. I think a lot of the flashboards were removed. I think they were removed quite some time ago. I think it's just something that they've come up and are possibly laying claim that municipality's at fault for not maintaining the dam. But as I said, we never put them in, and therefore I don't believe it's municipality's responsibility to put them back in.
So as everyone at this table might know, this is a big deal for Ayton. This is a real issue down there. And
Before we
want-
go any further, because we're in court with this, I'm wondering
I'm just
how much
asking about the
further you-
flashboards.
how much further we want to go with it, but, okay.
So
Just be careful.
will we be giving Brent direction to install the flashboards?
We could take a little further look at it, but there's no direction from council for him to do that at this point in time. If council wishes to investigate it a little bit further on the operation and what that would need to be a resolution that comes forward and direction given. But at this point, I don't believe there's any direction or discussion has ever been on that aspect of putting those back in.
Can I make a motion that we direct Brent to put the flashboards
Not
back
at the
in?
present time, because we're dealing with this, but we'll look at that coming forward as a notice of motion or a direct motion.
Just quickly, Your Worship, Councillor Hergert, all they've done is restored to the sluice gates to what they were prior to June of 2017, and I haven't done anything further. So whatever's happened before that, to my knowledge is that I have not changed. I've just put back what was in place prior to the large flood in June, and I haven't done anything else with respect to the flashboards or anything like that. So.
Okay. Thank you.
Very good. Any other questions? Do you guys have that motion down there? Where'd it go? Oh, sorry, got it right here. Sorry, thank you. Yeah. Any other questions on the accounts? Then I have a motion moved by Carol Lawrence, seconded by Bev Cutting. Be it resolved that the Director of Finance Treasurer be authorized to pay the accounts presented as voucher number 25, 2017, in the amount of $785,156.77, and voucher number 2, 2018, in the amount of $120,875.40 of the Municipality of West Grey. Excuse me. Any Questions or comments on this motion? Call the question. All those in favor? Any opposed? That's carried. Okay. That's it for Carrie's report. So the next one would be Brent's. What page does that start on, Brent?
111.
Yes, there we are. All right. So on Brent's report, first one is on the tenders. And this is dealing with the 110 cab. So we've got that one. Yep, that'll be the one. So we had a couple of submissions on the on this tender, Brent, and from
Yes, Your Worship,
Locals.
I'd be glad to take questions for the, I need to add on the grader, for the 1 ton and the half ton 4x4. I'd be glad to field any questions regarding that before you proceed.
any questions on the tender on that one? Rebecca?
Sure. So, Leslie Motors, $30,592 for the one-ton cab. What will that be used for? In general or?
Oh, you're reading Councillor Hergert. Actually, I've identified it, highlighted in yellow. I don't know if it's in your report or not, but I'm recommending the regular cab 4x4.
You're recommending the $33,602. So this isn't right. Right, so this is 2 trucks, right? Not
What did I say in my recommendation?
I think he's got the resolution.
Sorry?
Mark would have both of them. Which one did we want?
I apologize.
Maybe
Councillor Hergert, you are correct, but I've got the wording right, I've just got the wrong price. No, you are correct. It should be $33,602
But is that it just says
for the 1-ton cab and chassis 4x4. Leslie Motors.
so it's just the price?
The price is wrong, I apologize, yeah.
So why are you recommending
I think what it is, sorry, you probably got the wrong motion there. When Mark puts these together, he's not sure which one we're going to pick. So we sent out, this one's not the right one either. So we'll, yeah.
I've identified it wrong in my report, Your Worship, so
You
Mark is-
identified this one, and Mark has a motion for any and either one.
Changed it, but have you got the proper one?
This one's 30.
You had a
Yeah,
question?
if you've changed it, that's fine. Okay. So, Rebecca, your question.
Yes. So why are we choosing the 4x4 over the regular cab?
One of the reasons why I requested a 4x4 was that I'm looking at utilizing this equipment all year round. So I'm looking at possibly putting on a snow package. And what I mean by snow package is a front plow with a rear spreading unit that can be used for a lot of our municipal yards, more specifically Ayton and Newstead. It becomes a more viable piece of equipment. If it was just the 1-ton alone, again, I'm looking at enhancing the equipment so that we can utilize it all year round. So I'm looking at the possibility of saving money in the future, spending a little, but saving money long-term with the municipality.
Go ahead.
How much is the snow package extra?
The snow package roughly will be approximately between $15,000 and $20,000. And I have realized some savings that you will see through my tendering that will allow me to do that without being a burden on the levy. Or I'm not talking levy at all, and I'm just using within my own equipment reserves and things like that to purchase that.
Okay. Any other questions? Before we read the motion, we have a motion moved by Herget, seconded by Carol Lawrence. Be it resolved that the Council of the Municipality of West Grey hereby awards tender WG 18-02 for a 4x4 one-ton cab and chassis to Leslie Motors for $33,602 plus HST. Any further questions on the motion? Call the question. All those in favor? Any opposed? That's carried. Okay. The next one is for another tender for the road grader, and you're recommending the John Deere.
Yes, Your Worship, and I again apologize. That was the cost in place, but there are some other things that I meant to include in it. One was a option for an extended warranty, and I did not include it in here, but I've talked with the road supervisor, and we both feel that it's warranted money. It's $4,400 for an additional 3-year program to cover the drivetrain, hydraulics, the big expensive part of the grader. The option to go to a 5-year was, I couldn't figure out why the pricing, but it was over $11,000, and I didn't feel it was worthy of spending that kind of money on a 5-year and just stay with a 3-year increase. So I'm looking at an additional $4,400 for the warranty, and other note is a lube credit for the automated greaser. By going to a second, there was another option. It would reduce the price by $1,900. So the total value of the grader net HST is $386,000. $386,046.91 is the total cost of the grader, including the net HST.
Can you say that slowly once more?
Sorry, $386,046.91 is the total cost. That's it. That's with the net HST added to it. So we're quite thrilled that we came in under our budget estimate, because we were very worried when we went to tender that we weren't going to be successful. But John Deere came to the plate, and we're quite happy with that.
Both of them are competitive bidding. Rob, Councillor Thompson.
Brent, does that still include the packer that goes on the back?
Well, I had a budget of $412,000 that included the packer. I kept it separate because it didn't get tendered with this.
Oh, it didn't.
We already have a price. We went out for quotations, and we received a quote, but at the time when I did the tender, so that part of the packer is still going to be part of the overall equipment cost.
Right.
So that part of the cost is about $12,000. So net, I'm probably still under about $15,000 on the total, $412 total that I had in the budget.
Right.
Yeah.
So packer, you're going to get one for each depot.
That's correct.
Rural depot.
That's correct.
Purchasing those.
Yeah.
And just quickly, what's the winter snow package? What's that entail?
That's the wing, the front one-way. It's
Yeah.
so the grader can function in the winter. Yeah.
Right. Okay. Yeah.
Yep.
No, I kind of thought that, but I wanted to make sure. Thank you.
Okay. questions. Rebecca?
Just another quick question. What is the warranty that comes with it? So you're saying the 3-year
So,
additional?
comes standard 1 year, and then it comes with an additional 3-year, 3,000-hour unlimited warranty on the engine, transmission, and hydraulics, the hydraulic pump and things like that.
So that would take us to 4 years, and then we'd buy the
No,
3?
that's, you're paying attention. I said the same thing. Typical warranties, no, they start at 1 year. It's the same thing with a car or anything like that. But no, you don't go to 4 years. It's 3 years. So that additional 2 years is costing you for $4,400 in reality. But they call it a 3-year warranty. I still think it's cheap insurance to have that, just because of those components. Those major components are very expensive, and just to make sure we're covered.
Yep. Okay. All right. I have a motion moved by Rob Thompson, seconded by Bev Cutting. Be it resolved that the Council of the Municipality of West Grey hereby awards tender WG 18-03 for the road grader CW with winter snow package to John Deere for $386,046.91 plus HST. I made that slight adjustment. I hope the mover and seconder are fine with that. Yep, very good. Any further questions on this tender? Call the question. All those in favor? Any opposed? That's carried. Okay. The next one was just on a regular half-ton for one of the depots, I believe. And I have a motion here for tender 04. Moved by Carol Lawrence, second by Bev Cutting. Be it resolved that the Council of the Municipality of West Grey hereby awards tender WG number 18-04 for a 4x4 half-ton pickup to Georgian Chevrolet for $30,500 plus HST. Is there any further questions, comments on this tender? This will be going to
It's going to Normanby, Your Worship.
Normanby Depot.
Yes.
Call the question. All those in favor? Any opposed? That's carried. Okay. Here's one from Hastings. Yep. I still need one more signature on that one. The next one is a tender for the Durham wastewater treatment, adding UV to the discharge. I'll introduce the motion, and then if there's any questions, we've got the motions going forward here, back and forth pretty good now. I have a motion moved by Rob Thompson, seconded by Bev Cutting. Be it resolved that the Council of the Municipality of West Grey hereby awards tender WG 18-06 for installation of a UV system at the Durham Wastewater Treatment Plant to Allen Hastings Limited for $153,137 plus taxes, pending Ministry of Environment and Climate Change Certificate of Approval. Any questions or comments on this motion? Call the question. All those in favor? Any opposed? Carried. Okay. That's it for tenders. Brent? It's a quick way. I didn't quite add it up, but we just spent a few $1,000s there. All of it budgeted, and for the most part, all of it under budget. So just slightly, some good competitive bidding. Second one is renewal of the water wastewater agreement with American Water. Anything further? I think this comes as a bylaw coming up. Is there any questions on it before we introduce the bylaw? Brent?
I just wanted to let council know, and maybe you did the math or whatever, but the net increase over the past contract was 2.9%. So the value that you see in here on the last page is a 2.9% increase over the previous contract. I think that's a very reasonable amount. I was hoping that they were going to come in under 3. They cut it marginally, but I still feel it's a fair and equitable contract. And I purposely put in the changes, and I hope council was able to see that over the preceding contract, so you'll be able, if you had questions, without having to read everything, if you had questions regarding those specific items, I'd be glad to answer those.
Anything else, Rebecca? Yep, go ahead.
So if we go to 3.1 of the contract, there's a list, let me get to the page here, let's say it should be about 183. Who's presently doing the work? This is an additional paragraph, clause that's been included in 3.1. Performs all repairs and maintenance as part of the required additional services. Contract or may subcontract, any part.
Yeah, so
Are they doing all of this right now?
they currently oversee a lot of the repair work. Yes, they are doing, they do replace pumps and things like that. Like we don't.
To $2,000, right?
Well, the $2,000 was put in there only because I was giving them a bit of latitude without having to come to us all the time. So if it goes above $2,000, I want to know about it because A, it's a large expense, and I want to make sure we follow some kind of procurement, whether we do the pricing and we follow through with, you know, saying, well, let us review it so that we can obtain the cheapest price possible. I didn't want to get nitpicky on stuff that's under $2,000. I don't know if it's, by the time I would spend my time and effort or Steve's on doing it, I don't know if there would be efficiencies made by that. So I think we agreed upon, you know, I agreed upon $2,000. Why the council is accepted of that, that's your council's call on that.
So then paragraph, or clause 3.3 is a joint comprehensive inspection. We've completed a contract with this company already.
Sorry,
right?
3.3?
Clause 3.3.
Yes, sorry.
So it says within 45 days following the end of the year of each contract year, the contractor and the owner. So when will our yearly joint comprehensive inspection take place? Do we have a date set?
Just
now for that?
recently, American Water Works submitted their quarterly review of the facilities, and they noted some of the deficiencies, and I provided that, I believe, in the last
meeting.
council meeting. So, I mean, we could review it again, but they've kind of already gone through and recommended some of the deficiencies in that report.
Okay, so that's the report,
Well, you know, they give it to us quarterly, so it keeps us up to speed with the deficiencies in the system. So it's our responsibility to enact upon those deficiencies.
So every other department, we ask them to keep it to a 2% increase. So why are we going forward with a 2.9% in this area?
I did not know. I'm a little naive about that. I apologize.
This really isn't a department, it's a contract that's coming out there.
Right.
So as much as we want it, you know, it's what we can negotiate at. It's a lot like our insurance. We're purchasing something, and this one, if we really wanted to, the only way to find out would be to go out to market and find another contractor, an operator. So, I mean, they're pretty good. John?
Can I add also,
Brent?
Councillor Hergert, I was able to negotiate going from 15% on the overhead of chargeable items down to 10%. So I reduced that quite a bit. I tried to get it down to a reasonable amount. I started out
But
quite-
why are we giving them a premium? Like, the next clause is 5.5, and we're gonna give them a premium on whatever they do for services, plus, in this case, you're right, 10%. Why wouldn't it be 2%? I mean, they already know what we need.
Any contract work that we do right now with bridges and things like that, if it's over and above the current tendered amount and we want it worked on, there is a cost plus to that work. That's almost like standard industry practice with contractors.
So then we go to paragraph 10.1, contractor, this is about performance bond, we're reducing it from 100% to 50%.
Yes.
Seems like a large reduction.
And the reason why I'm doing that again is to try and save money, because if we've already know this contractor, they've worked with us for the past 10 plus years, I believe. They just pass that cost back on to us. Like whatever, if we could ask for 100, but they're just gonna afford that cost back on to us, so.
But if we had to, if something happened to American Water, and we had to get somebody to perform this service for us.
Right.
I mean, we've heard it around this table, that we trust American Water. Who do we trust at 50% of the cost to do it if they can't?
Well, on the total value of the project, I think close to $200,000 would be reasonable enough that they're not gonna leave us, but, you know, again, I was just looking at ways of trying to keep costs in control.
It just seems like we're opening ourselves up to some trouble if they would not perform.
Just for your own information, I do, when I conduct the large material tenders such as hot mix or anything like that, surface treatment, I go with a 50% bond. And again, they just pass that money back on to us. We don't get that money back. So again, I'm looking at the contractors, usually the local contractors are very reasonable. They've been in business for many, many years. I use the word trust.
That's the whole point of having the performance bond, though, the performance security, is that, I mean, why would we reduce it to zero then?
If council wishes it to go up to 100%, it will result in more money unless I leave it up to council.
So then my final comment is 17.6, there's an assignment of this entire contract to any other party. Are we really okay with that? Again, it goes back to the trust issue. I mean, if we trust American Water to deal with our water and we have no issues with our water, then why would we allow them to assign it to another company? And it goes further to say it might be a parent company, it might not be a
But
subsidiary.
it says without prior consent of the owner.
This says the contractor may assign with prior written consent to the owner, which consent shall not be unreasonably withheld. Why don't we get rid of that shall not be unreasonably withheld? We could go more to 17.2 has a little bit of without the prior written consent of the owner, which may be arbitrarily withheld in the contractor or in the owner's sole discretion. I mean, we want to hold the authority to say, don't assign this contract.
Listen where you are.
Anything's possible. I leave it to council's discretion on any of the items that you mentioned.
Have we ran this through a lawyer at all? I mean, this is our water. This is something we're personally responsible for. Have we investigated that further?
I believe it was when we contracted them originally, yes, the agreement was run through the lawyer. These sections that you're getting into are a lot of legalese that are in 99% of these contracts.
Some of
and
these-
it hasn't changed
Yeah, some of these
dramatically.
clauses-
It's a good point. I mean, I could very easily facilitate having our lawyer review it to see if he has any reservations. If that's what council would like to have.
Carol?
It's an additional cost. I do put my trust in Brent. That's why we hired him. He is our director of public works. I think we need to accept what he's putting in front of us. We're not lawyers, any of us, and we are questioning very closely this contract. And these people have been with us for a number of years. We've had very good service, and I think no problems, Brent. I mean, we had someone before them that didn't work as well, but this has been very good.
If I can offer,
Go ahead, Brent.
it probably should have been vented through our lawyer, just as a final check. I kind of agree with Councillor Hergert on that point, because their lawyers reviewed this agreement before they gave it to me, so. It's council's decision on.
Look for thoughts. Rebecca?
I'd feel very comfortable if this went before our lawyer. Like Brent just mentioned, it's been through their lawyer. We should give it our due diligence as well. This is water. This is us personally responsible.
What we can do when the bylaw comes forward, when does this agreement expire?
The end of this month.
So there would be a possibility. The bylaw is on here, so my suggestion, Rebecca, if that's what you're looking for, to defer passing the bylaw or giving it first, second reading, however we want to do it. And I mean, there's a couple of options. We can do it one way or the other. If the majority of council is in agreement with yourself to pass it through a legal at that point in time.
Your Worship, I'm wondering if council would allow me the latitude to have an agreement, just a standard letter saying that we would extend the contract services as they currently exist with American Water month to month until, or whatever time frame until this is settled. I don't know if I can do that, or.
Well, as I said, it's at the end of the month. Right at this moment, I'm not looking for anything here. When the bylaw comes up, it's how it's going to be addressed at the bylaw time, and what council feels it doing at that point. So, yeah, one of those options may be that I'm not sure American Water wants to go for it. You know, there's the other on going for a month-to-month extension. I don't know.
Well, I guess I was only saying until our legal has had a chance to review this. They might not be able to get at it until, I'm not sure when, but, and secondly, I'd like to know who. I'm not,
I think on any of those contracts and whatnot, we use the Alliance. It is on retainer, would be
okay.
the Alliance out of Owen Sound, Dressler or Robinson, to look at that. Know that's who, you know, from the clerk's department. That's what Mark has done on a couple of occasions, and that's who does that aspect of it. Yeah. So we'll address that when the bylaw comes up and feel which direction council wants to take on it at that point in time. Okay? In the meantime, is there anything else, Brent?
Don't think so, Your Worship. I think that's it.
There's no direct motions that you might want to be bringing forward? Something on, did you have anything update on the landfill and/or, you know, tendering the Bruce Street, Lambton Street project?
Oh, actually, yeah, well, it's just informational stuff that I'm bringing forward. I believe the committee, or sorry, council rather, received an email last week regarding the public meeting. Is that what you're getting at, Your Worship? Sorry.
Yeah, well, was that what, Ian?
Oh, I'm sorry.
Well, I've got, I think, a
forgot to
couple-
include, I know what you're.
Yeah, there's a couple of motions that you want to get passed
Right.
that weren't included.
I'm
that you
sorry.
want as direct.
I'm with you. Sorry.
One's
It's
on some
Monday.
landfill cover, one's on some landfill cover, and
Right.
one was on the Bruce Street tendering from Committee of the Whole.
Yes. That
So
will
you're wanting to
come.
introduce those as two direct motions, I think, is what Brent has.
Right. I apologize. Yeah.
Want me to explain that? Is, we have one on the, from the Committee of the Whole, we talked about, there's the opportunity to acquire some capping fill for the Durham landfill. It's become available, and contractor, it would work for us, so you want to proceed forward with that. And the second one was on tendering, the joint tender with Grey County on the Bruce Lambton Street,
Yeah.
going forward with that. So you'll have those
Sorry.
as two
Yes.
direct motions.
I
Carol?
I don't know if we need a motion, but maybe direction that we accept the landfill cap cover for Newstead at no cost, too. There wasn't really permission given, or we're accepting Brent's. Maybe it should be mentioned somewhere,
Yep, that'll come up when, I think that could be part of the,
part of the motion. Yeah.
part of the
I'll make it
direct
part of
motion.
my
Yeah,
um,
okay.
Direct motion.
direct
Yeah.
motion, yeah.
Okay. Is there anything else, Brent?
Well, good news. I think council are well aware that the Heritage Bridge is now complete. And from what I hear from the public, they think it's a very significant project. They're happy that it's completed and utilizing that structure right now. And we do, as I was saying before, we do have a public meeting. If council wish to attend, it was just an FYI, you're more than welcome to join us. As I, myself and Rakesh, meet with the landowners to discuss the Bruce and Lambton Street project, bring them up to speed with the improvements that we're going to be doing there. And I think that's it.
The date of that public meeting?
The date is February the 12th, and the snow date, February 20th. Time, 6:30 to 8 o'clock at the Durham Arena Community Center, or whatever, the hall, yeah. The 20th is the snow date, yeah. February 12th, Monday evening.
Okay. All right. Good. Thank you very much for getting that complete. And we'll deal with those ones when we get there. All right. Is there any other questions for Brent? Then we're down to bylaws. And if I'm not mistaken, the first bylaw is one to enter into an agreement with the Clean Water and Wastewater transfer payment, to accept that. I have a motion moved by R. Hergitz, seconded by Carol Lawrence. Be it resolved that bylaw number 11, 2018, being a bylaw to enter into a Clean Water and Wastewater Fund Ontario Transfer Payment Agreement, Amendment Number 1, between Her Majesty the Queen and the Right of Ontario as represented by the Minister of Infrastructure and the Municipality of West Grey, be now read a first, second, and third time, passed and numbered, and that the said bylaw be signed by the Mayor and the Clerk, sealed with the seal of the corporation, and be engrossed in the bylaw book. Any questions on this bylaw? Carol, Councillor Lawrence?
Were you going to have it vetted by a lawyer, and if so, it would be first and second reading, or what? Or is this going to be passed
This-
subject to?
This
Or is
one,
this the same
this one's
one?
just, no, this one is
Oh, okay, payment
accepting.
transfer, yeah, I got it.
Payment transfer.
Yeah, okay. I just read.
No, if the province, the
Clean water,
province
wastewater.
has given us money.
Yeah, we'll take it.
Well, yeah,
We'll take it.
unless we can go by a lawyer and see if he can get us more, but in this one, it was that transfer payment from the fund. Went through AMO. Okay? Any other questions? Call the question. All those in favor? Any opposed? That's carried. Okay. Bylaw number 12. This was one that we discussed at Committee of the Whole, is the bylaw on use of corporate resources during an election, during an election, and it's the policy around that. So the motion has been moved by Carol Lawrence, seconded by R. Hergert. Be it resolved that bylaw number 12, 2018, being a bylaw to adopt a use of corporate resources during an election policy, be now read a first, second, and third time, passed and numbered, and that said bylaw be signed by the mayor and the clerk, sealed with the seal of the corporation, and be engrossed in the bylaw book. Any questions on this bylaw? Call the question. All those in favor? Any opposed? Carried. Bylaw number 13 is a bylaw to establish certain fees and charges. It's moved by Bev Cutting, seconded by Carol Lawrence. Be it resolved that bylaw number 13, 2018, being a bylaw to amend bylaw number 40, 2014, being a bylaw to establish fees and charges for certain services provided by the Municipality of West Grey, be now read a first, second, and third time, passed and numbered, and that the said bylaw be signed by the mayor and the clerk, sealed with the seal of the corporation, and be engrossed in the bylaw book. Any questions or comments? Councillor Hergen.
Yeah, I just have one comment about section 12.0 has a paragraph there about notice being given. So it's suggesting in all of here, in each one of these contracts that the notice be given to the Municipality of West Grey, and it doesn't exactly name Fire Chief Phil as someone who notice should be given to. So there are some times in here that I feel like he needs to be included. The contract with Elmwood, no, not necessarily, right? We have our own fire chief for that. But the contract with West Grey and Hanover, I feel that Fire Chief Phil should be included there as someone to give notice.
But this is the bylaw on charges and fees.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry, charges and fees. I jumped ahead here, sorry.
Yeah, okay.
I'm on the tiered response, sorry.
All right, yeah.
Okay, let me get back here.
Whoa, okay. Yeah, you're ahead of us.
Okay, sorry.
All right, no problem. So this one's on the charges and fees that had gone through Committee of the Whole,
Fine, yeah.
and we'd recommended. Okay,
Going through that one, sorry.
if there's no questions, all in favor? Any opposed? That's carried. Bylaw number 14 is one of these tiered response. This one is the tiered response between the county and West Grey. So I have the motion moved by Carol Lawrence, seconded by Bev Cutting. Be it resolved that bylaw number 14, 2018, being a bylaw to enter into a tiered emergency response agreement between the County of Grey and the Municipality of West Grey, be now read a first, second, and third time, passed and numbered, and that the said bylaw be signed by the mayor and the clerk, sealed with the seal of the corporation, and be engrossed in the bylaw book. Now, your question, Rebecca.
Yes, so it's on page 145. Under notice. So we give notice to the county, we give notice to the clerk of Hanover, the fire department in Hanover, and to our clerk. So I feel that our fire chief is just,
That's for the fire department, Phil Schwartz.
the first contract does call that.
The other
But
one.
the second, yeah, the subsequent. And not all of them apply, like if it's between the county and Brockton, Brockton's got its own, right? Brockton's got its own. This page 145 is not.
We're on the first one, yeah, which the first one has, so you don't
We
need,
passed the first one.
Now, this one's for the Grey County one.
yeah, and it has Phil on there.
14's okay, it's 15.
All right, so you're not
Yeah.
on the right bylaw.
first one, which is this one we're dealing with, is with Fire Chief Schwartz. Okay? All right. Any other clarification on bylaw 14? Ready to vote? Call the question. All those in favor? Any opposed? That's carried. The next one is bylaw number 15, and these are tiered responses between the County of Grey, Town of Hanover, and the Municipality of West Grey. So basically, the next 3 or 4 are covering who we have contracted so that they're all the same when individual the fire departments that we have contracted to cover certain areas of West Grey are coming in. When they're in West Grey, it's all the same as our own fire departments. So the motion is moved by Bev Cutting, seconded by Carol Lawrence. Be it resolved that bylaw number 15, 2018, being a bylaw to enter into a tripartite tiered emergency response agreement between the County of Grey, Town of Hanover, and the Municipality of West Grey be now read a first, second, and third time, passed as amended and numbered, and that the said bylaw be signed by the mayor and the clerk, sealed with the seal of the corporation. And to your comment, Councillor Herget, was on the contact. Well, it is passed as amended. So for the municipality,
Where it says for municipality too, it's got clerical aspiration. Fire chief is what I was saying.
Or plus the fire chief.
Yes,
Plus.
yeah, I get it.
yeah, municipality 1 has the Town of Hanover and then the fire department, and the municipality 2, it's almost like I don't know whether 12.2 got put in there, but the amended part we will add in the contact list, Kathy, that the fire chief also be listed as one of the contacts for West Grey. Okay? So we have the amendment in there, be further amended. Okay? Any other questions? Call the question. All those in favor? Any opposed? That's carried. Next one is it's strange. We got the fire chief as being a signing authority, but not in there. That's the one with Hanover. Okay. The next one is with Brockton. And pretty much the same thing. It's a tiered response. Have a motion moved by Carol Lawrence, seconded by Bev Cutting. Be it resolved that bylaw number 16, 2018, being a bylaw to enter into a tripartite tiered emergency response agreement between the County of Grey, the Municipality of Brockton, and the Municipality of West Grey, be now read a first, second, and third time, passed as amended, passed as amended and numbered, and that the said bylaw be signed by the mayor and the clerk, sealed with the seal of the corporation, and be engrossed in the bylaw book. Mover and seconder fine with that amendment, the amendment being Phil.
This is with Brockton, and we'll use the Elmwood Fire Chief there for notice, right?
It doesn't hurt to have victims for it, though.
No.
He has to sign the agreement, so
No.
he should be.
No, it's not with Elmwood, it's with Brockton that,
Comes into our.
Right, so we'll do both.
Well, add him in, because he needs to sign it too, so
yeah,
he
Did anybody catch? These are a lot, bylaw number 16, in the first paragraph. It's being a bylaw to enter into a tripartite tier emergency response agreement between the County of Grey and the Town of Hanover. That needs to be amended too. It needs to be Brockton. This is the Brockton one. I think when it was cut and pasted, they're all the same. It was just that one didn't get. Yeah. Anyways, the text of it is between the Brockton and all the signing, except we'll add fill in as one of those on the contact for the municipality. So it's passed as amended. I think both are friendly. We don't need to vote on that portion of it. Okay? With those two amendments, all those in favor? Opposed? That's carried. Okay. That was 16. 17 is the one dealing with Grey Highlands. So I have a motion moved by Rob Thompson, second by Bev Cutting-Beat. Be it resolved that bylaw number 17, 2018, being a bylaw to enter into a tripartite tiered emergency response agreement between the County of Grey, the Municipality of Grey Highlands, and the Municipality of West Grey, be now read a first, second, and third time, passed as amended and numbered, and that the said bylaw be signed by the mayor and the clerk, sealed with the seal of the corporation, be engrossed in the bylaw book. I think this one has the same little town not quite right in there. And the top portion, it just says Hanover, but the rest of it is all for Grey Highlands. So that is as amended. As well, good catch on those two. Any other questions? All those in favor? Any opposed? That's carried. Next one is operation and maintenance between the agreement between American Water and and the municipality to operate our operation. Seeing as there is some questions, may I suggest how to resolve this is that we give it first and second reading, introduce it, just go to first and second reading, with the proviso in the minutes that it be passed, goes through a have legal look at it. After at that point in time, when that can happen, it then would come back for third reading. I would hope that that could be done for the next council meeting, and that way, if it's not, then Brent could come forward with this on an agreement to extend the contract. I think that would be the cleanest way of doing that.
I think if we ask the lawyer, I mean, we put enough through them, if they can put expedite it because of the date, yeah.
Yes.
Rather than on the file.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay. So with your indulgence, Mr. Thompson and Ms. Cutting, we will amend this and just give it first and second reading and move it to pass at a later date. So it's moved by Rob Thompson, seconded by Bev Cutting. Be it resolved that bylaw number 18, 2018, being a bylaw to enter into the operations, maintenance, and management agreement between the Municipality of West Grey and American Water Canada Corp. be now read a first and second time, passed as amended and numbered, and that the said bylaw be signed by the mayor and the clerk, sealed with the seal of the corporation, and be engrossed in the bylaw book. So it's only to the second reading. And further, that direction be given that it goes back and comes back for third reading after being reviewed by legal, the agreement. Okay? No. And I'm not sure, just on that first and second reading, we're not voting on it, but it's been read in first and second, so it'll show in the minutes. But we don't vote on it until it comes back. So it has been introduced. Okay? When it gets to third reading, then we can vote. The next one is the confirming bylaw. We have a motion moved by Rob Thompson, seconded by Bev Cutting. Be it resolved that bylaw number 19, 2018, being a bylaw to confirm the proceedings of the February 5th, 2018 council meeting, be now read a first, second, and third time, passed and numbered, and that the said bylaw be signed by the mayor and the clerk, sealed with the seal of the corporation, and be engrossed in the bylaw book. Any questions on this motion? All those in favor? Any opposed? That's carried. Very good. And that's it for bylaws. New business. Rebecca, you had mentioned something about new business?
So I did attend the Roma conference. One of the exhibitors there was the public libraries, the Federation of Public Libraries, and the Ontario Library Association. And at that exhibition where they have all the exhibitors, there was some discussion about the data that they've collected over the last year and some recommendations from their lobbying organization. So they've asked us to bring forward the data, which I've sent you in an email about a month and a half ago. The data discusses the benefits of libraries and their importance to culture, their importance to our community, the need for resources, especially in an area where we don't have high-speed internet. We're still trying to get there. The funding from the province has not increased since 1986, and so that is one of the asks, that we ask the province pre-budget for more funding for libraries. So I'm coming today to council, not to ask us for any more money. We know our budget's done, but I am asking that we support a resolution to the province pre-budget asking for more monies. They do have, in the information packet that I sent to you a while ago, they do have three asks. The first one is to increase the funding from $33 million, which has stayed there since the 1986, increase it by $17 million annually to bring it up to $50 million. So that's the first ask. The second ask is that they put $25 million into new digital libraries so that everybody in the province can access it, which makes sense. The further we get into the internet, the easier it is for everybody to have access to the internet, to have that digital library already up and going and running, funded. The third ask really talks about school boards and school libraries and the reduction of a teacher librarian at each individual school. The numbers that they have to cover just increases, right? So previous it was about 763 pupils per teacher librarian, and now it's up to 909 students per teacher librarian. So really, the province funds education, the province funds libraries, why not look for more of an overlap? So the Federation of Ontario Public Libraries has gone ahead, collected the data, hired a lobby company. These are the three asks from the province pre-budget. Would we support a resolution to move on up asking for the province to give us more money at the municipality for public libraries? So that is my ask today.
Those, for that endorsement of those three, do you have resolutions made up for those, or?
Not exactly a formal resolution, but I would like it to be circulated around and then potentially up to our MPP, who, again, it's just pre-budget. February 20th, they're going to come back to Queen's Park and take up the budget. So this is an election year. We were talking about it this last year. All three parties are right neck and neck with each other for pre-polling, let's say, and if this has already, all the work's been done by the lobbying group, they've brought forward their recommendations, and as long as they're all getting the same message, it should be something that is received. So could we have a resolution to support the 3 recommendations by the Federation of Public Libraries?
It could be put through as a direct
Direct motion.
or could be a notice of motion that would be a motion at the next council meeting, which would be February 19th,
We could, okay.
and that, so that we could have,
Shall I send this out to everyone again so you can all reread it
Yeah.
again? Okay.
Yeah.
It's about 13 pages. It's not too terribly long. It's way less than Mark sends us.
yeah, than the 200 and some that came here today.
Right.
Yeah, I would, how about we do it that way, Councillor Hergert? That just a notice of motion that we'll have a motion on to support on the February, is it 19th? Council meeting of support for, yeah, the motions on the library. So we've got notice, we're on notice that that will be on the next council meeting. Okay? Very good. Bev, new business.
So under that, if you're requesting that we get more money, I would like to know how much money we receive now from the province, how much of that extra $15 million would be designated to rural libraries, because my thing is you ask for well, yeah, you ask for 15 million and they give 5 to Toronto, 5 to London, and 5 to so-and-so, and they say there's their extra 15 million. So how much, or can you put in the resolution that a percentage of it go to rural Ontario, which is where the need is? So I would not support that resolution as you're saying right now, but if there was some added wording to benefit rural, then I would consider it. But at this point, no, because everything goes to the city, so.
Okay. And we'll look forward to that coming on the 19th of wording and support for what the libraries have. The only thing I would say is, yes, it's an election year. I think I've heard this on a board. Oh, that's right, the Conservation, because Conservation Ontario was same thing. The funding for conservation has, the province, I think it's sometime back in the 90s when that got froze, and hasn't increased at all. So they're asking for an increase as well too, and I don't know who else out there, but everybody is. But if you don't ask, you know absolutely what the answer is going to be. Okay. Addendums? Any other or notice of motions? I'm just going to say Brent had mentioned something about he thought he had 2. My fault, because realize that those 2 motions that Brent was, that we had talked about coming maybe as direct motions, they were already in the consent. We had gone through that through Committee of the Whole, and we found them that they were in the consent, so they've already gone through that way. Okay, so we don't need those. Rebecca?
One other, can we have a direct motion? I move that we direct the Department of Infrastructure and Public Works to replace the flashboards on the Ayton Dam.
One, I'd need, if you're going to make that as a direct motion, I'd need 2/3 majority to introduce that. But I would, I'll leave it at that. Okay? 2/3, Councillor Hergert wants to put a direct motion through of replacing the flashboards at the Ayton Dam. All those in favor? Now, I can declare that we don't have the 2/3 majority. What I would suggest is maybe giving just some direction to our Public Works to investigate a little bit more about these flashboards before we go about and what it may take or what effect, you know, gather some information on the flashboards before we go ahead. I know exactly what, yeah.
I don't know whether that's the right thing to do or not. That's
Yeah.
not our expertise.
I think if we can direct Brent to get some information about the flashboards. I can tell you that the flashboards probably went off 4 to 5 years ago when it was an ice jam that we recognized as when they went off. And yeah, so let's get into that. And I'm not even, you know, I don't even know whether you can replace them because the pipes that hold them in place have been bent and everything. So I'm going to say we'll give direction for Brent to do a little investigation or staff to do some investigation on the flashboard effect on the Ayton Mill Dam. Okay? Very good. There's no more closed session. So we're down to question period. This time, anyone in the audience has the opportunity. I see the guy behind the camera, and there's one other person here in the audience, and Marion's not looking up to ask any questions today. Municipal Act notices, I'm not aware. Sorry, I'm not aware of any other than the one that's here, and this is on the proposed new council and committee procedural bylaw would be placed on the February 19th for consideration. So that's part of, we had to give notice for that. So now you're on notice out there, everybody that is watching today's procedure. And with that, we're down to motion to adjourn. Ms. Hergert moves motion number 20. Councillor Cutting seconds that. All in favor? That is passed. Thank you very much, everyone, and have a great day out there. And don't be too mean to the groundhog. It was just because we seen sun that we're going to last for another 6 more weeks of winter. Good night.
Aye.